Happy Halloween, everybody. While everyone else is out there, busy with all the ghosts and goblins and trick-or-treating and all that, we are going to be diving into something that's a little bit more real-world spooky.
That's right.
We're going to be talking about some anxieties you might have about the future.
Indeed.
Future of finance, the future of technology, maybe even the future of society itself.
That's right. Sometimes reality can be even more unsettling than any fictional horror story.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, you sent us this really fascinating article, a transcript actually from the Common Sense Crypto channel, and it dives into some of those fears.
Yes, it does.
Touching on cryptocurrency and AI and this idea of elite control, kind of a whole cauldron of anxieties that are kind of brewing out there. So
yes,
we're going to unpack all of that today.
Sounds good.
We'll try to separate the hype from reality and hopefully give you some of the knowledge and the tools you need to kind of navigate this landscape that just seems to be getting more and more complex as the days go by. So thankfully we have expert speaker here to help us make sense of it all.
I'll do my best.
All right, so let's dive right in. The article starts out with this really interesting comparison to the 1988 film They Live.
Okay.
You remember that one?
Yes.
The aliens disguised as humans controlling society through these subliminal messages.
Right.
It creeped me out a little bit when I first saw it.
Yeah, I remember that one.
The author seems to see some parallels between the themes in that movie and some of the anxieties people feel today about elite control and media manipulation and just the rise of all these powerful technologies.
Yeah, it's a clever analogy, especially when you consider 1988 wasn't just the year They Live came out. It was also the same year that blockchain technology was born, which is, the foundation of cryptocurrency. So the author seems to believe that blockchain could be like a potential counterforce to the very systems of control that they fear.
Like this, like an epic battle playing out in the background for like 3 decades.
Yeah.
And the article doesn't shy away from naming names. They call out BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, as a potential player in this whole control narrative.
Yeah. BlackRock, led by Larry Fink, he's certainly drawn a lot of attention, especially within the crypto world.
And the author seems especially suspicious of his interest in cryptocurrency regulation and this thing called tokenization.
Right.
Honestly, I had kind of a vague idea what that even meant before I read this article. So can you break that down for us? What is tokenization?
Sure. Tokenization is basically the process of taking a real-world asset, so something like a stock or a bond or real estate or even art, and converting that into a digital token on a blockchain. So instead of holding a physical stock certificate, you would have a digital token that represents your ownership.
Oh, so it's like having like a digital deed to your house.
Exactly.
Or like a virtual piece of art instead of the physical one.
Exactly. And proponents of tokenization, they argue that it has a lot of benefits. It can increase transparency and efficiency. It can reduce fraud and make it easier and more accessible for people to invest in assets that were previously out of reach.
But the article seemed to suggest that this efficiency comes at a cost.
Okay.
They claim that Larry Fink's ultimate goal is to tokenize you and bring all private property under this digital system. They even quote Fink, discussing how tokenization eliminates corruption. That sounds kind of dystopian.
It does sound dystopian. I think it's important to separate what Fink actually said from the author's interpretation of it. Fink was talking about the benefits of tokenization in financial markets, not about tokenizing individuals themselves. But it does raise an interesting question, though. While tokenization could revolutionize asset ownership, the real question is, will it democratize finance, or will it simply shift control to new power players like BlackRock?
That is the question, right? I mean, it all comes down to who controls these systems and how they are implemented.
Precisely. And that brings us to another player in this space, Ripple.
Okay.
They're a company that's been generating both excitement and apprehension, especially because of their partnerships with organizations like the World Economic Forum.
Right. The article expresses quite a bit of concern about Ripple working with the World Economic Forum. They see it as kind of a step towards a cashless society that's controlled by these powerful institutions. And they paint a pretty grim picture of this future with a loss of privacy and control over your finances and even potential job losses due to automation.
So while BlackRock is exploring tokenization within the existing financial system, Ripple is aiming to revolutionize the system itself with a focus on cross-border payments and financial financial inclusion, and they work with institutions like the IMF and central banks, which, according to the article, suggests a future where their cryptocurrency XRP becomes a dominant global currency.
And they're kind of worried about that involvement with those institutions, seeing it as evidence that Ripple is part of the establishment, not a force for change. But isn't Ripple also claiming that their technology can make the financial system more efficient and accessible, especially for people who don't have access to traditional banking?
They do. However, their involvement with organizations like the IMF is exactly what fuels those anxieties about a cashless society controlled by central banks and governments. So it's a classic case of potential benefits and risks colliding.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack, that's for sure.
It is. We have a lot more to cover, including the anxieties around AI and how it ties into all of this.
Right, AI, because this deep dive isn't just about finance, it's about the future of work and maybe even humanity itself. So let's dive into that right after this.
Welcome back to our deep dive into all these anxieties swirling around the future of finance and technology. And before we move on, I think it's important to address the elephant in the room, or rather the robot in the room.
You're talking about AI, right? It does feel like it's kind of lurking in the background of all these anxieties.
Exactly. The source material you shared touches on some pretty unsettling predictions about AI, specifically from Elon Musk. He believes that humanoid robots could outnumber humans by 2040.
Wow, that's a pretty drastic image, being outnumbered by robots. And the article also mentioned that we could see 25% of the workforce become robotic in the very near future. Are we on the verge of like a robot takeover here? And is that where these job losses that the author talked about come in?
It's definitely a concern worth considering. I think the potential for automation to displace human workers is very real, and we need to have some serious discussions about what happens to those who lose their jobs to robots.
Right.
How do we ensure a just transition in the face of such rapid technological change?
And it's not just about jobs, is it? I mean, the author also brings up Musk's own concerns about AI going bad, potentially even turning against us. And they even mentioned his work with Neuralink, the brain implant company. It's like they're suggesting that AI could infiltrate our very minds.
Right. That's where things start to feel like a sci-fi thriller. While it's true that even leading AI developers like Musk have expressed anxiety about the potential misuse of AI, I think we need to distinguish between genuine concerns and alarmist speculation.
Right. So are we talking like Skynet here, or is it more nuanced than that?
It's definitely more nuanced. While it's important to be aware of the potential risks, let's not forget that AI also has the potential to solve some of humanity's biggest challenges.
So how do we balance those potential benefits of AI with these dystopian fears? I mean, the article doesn't really offer any solutions, does it?
Well, I think it's important to remember that the future isn't predetermined, right? It's shaped by the choices that we make today. And as we've been discussing, knowledge is our most powerful tool in navigating these uncharted waters. So
instead of panicking about robots taking over the world, we should be focusing on understanding AI and its potential impact.
Exactly. We can engage in constructive conversations. We can demand transparency from developers. We can advocate for responsible development and regulation of AI. We can also support initiatives that promote ethical AI, focusing on things like fairness and human oversight and the prevention of bias.
Sounds like we have a lot of work to do, but I got to admit, you're making me feel a little more optimistic about all of this.
Good, because fear can be paralyzing while knowledge can be empowering. And speaking of knowledge, let's shift gears back to the world of cryptocurrency for a moment. While we've touched upon tokenization, I think it's important to break down what Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies actually are.
Yes, please. Honestly, I still find myself a little confused about this whole cryptocurrency thing.
It's a complex subject, but at their core, cryptocurrencies are digital forms of money. They use cryptography for security and operate independently of central banks and governments. Bitcoin, the first and most famous cryptocurrency, was created in 2008 as a decentralized alternative to traditional financial systems.
Decentralized meaning it's not controlled by any one entity.
Precisely. Bitcoin transactions are recorded on a public ledger called a blockchain, which is maintained by a network of computers rather than a central authority like a bank.
So it's like a digital version of cash, but without the need for a bank.
In a way, yes. That's why it's been so appealing to those who distrust traditional financial institutions or just want more control over their their own money. However, the article suggests that even cryptocurrencies are not immune to the reach of powerful entities like BlackRock. They mentioned BlackRock's interest in creating Bitcoin ETFs, claiming that this could be a way to bring Bitcoin under their influence.
That's the ETFs. What are those?
ETFs, or exchange-traded funds, they allow investors to gain exposure to an asset without directly owning it. So a Bitcoin ETF, for example, would allow people to invest in Bitcoin without actually buying and holding the cryptocurrency itself. They would own shares in a fund that holds Bitcoin.
And the concern is that BlackRock, being the world's largest asset manager, could potentially control the price of Bitcoin through these ETFs.
That's the fear that the author expresses. Yes, it's a legitimate concern, as BlackRock would have significant influence over those ETFs. However, it's important to note that ETFs also make it easier for more people to invest in Bitcoin, which could potentially lead to wider adoption. So it's another example of that push and pull between potential benefits and risks that we've been discussing.
Right. So we have this fascinating world of cryptocurrency with Bitcoin kind of leading the charge, and then we have these established giants like BlackRock trying to figure out how to navigate it. But what about Ripple? Where do they fit into all of this? We were talking about them a little bit before the break.
Unlike Bitcoin, which aims to disrupt the traditional financial system, Ripple is working within the system. They develop blockchain-based payment solutions primarily for banks and financial institutions.
So they're playing a different game than the Bitcoin enthusiasts.
You could say that, and that's why they've been able to form partnerships with major banks and institutions, including some of those mentioned in the source material, like the IMF and central banks.
But those partnerships are exactly what worry the author, right? I mean, they see them as evidence that Ripple is ultimately part of the establishment, not a force for real change.
That's the perspective presented in the article. They believe that Ripple is working with these institutions to create a future where XRP, their own cryptocurrency, becomes a dominant global currency.
And they frame that as a negative outcome.
Exactly. They see it as a continuation of the existing power structures, not a true liberation from them. They believe it's a path toward a cashless society controlled by central banks and governments, a society that lacks privacy and financial freedom.
But didn't Ripple claim that their technology could actually improve the financial system, make it more efficient and accessible, especially for people who are excluded from traditional banking?
They do make that argument. They believe that their solutions can reduce costs and speed up transactions and help bring financial services to those who currently lack access.
So once again, it seems we're faced with this dilemma: potential benefits versus potential risks, and it all kind of comes down to perspective, I guess.
Precisely, and it's crucial to remember that we're still in the very early stages of this technological revolution. The future of cryptocurrency, its impact on society, and who ultimately benefits from it are all still unfolding.
It's exciting and a little terrifying all at the same time.
It is indeed. But let's not allow fear to overshadow the potential for positive change, as we've discussed throughout this deep dive. Knowledge is our most powerful weapon against these anxieties.
Knowledge and maybe a healthy dose of skepticism too.
Absolutely. We need to stay informed, ask critical questions, and engage in thoughtful discussions about these technologies and their impact on our lives.
It sounds like you're advocating for a balanced approach, a middle ground between, blind optimism and paralyzing fear.
Precisely. We need to approach these emerging technologies with a sense of cautious curiosity. We need to be aware of the potential risks while also remaining open to the possibilities they present.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about finding that sweet spot between embracing innovation and safeguarding our values.
Exactly, and that brings us back to the central theme of this deep dive: anxiety about the future we've explored, the anxieties raised in the source material you shared, delving into everything from tokenization and AI to the potential rise of a cashless society.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind tour of anxieties.
It has.
But you've done a great job of unpacking them and helping us to understand the complexities involved.
It's been my pleasure. However, this deep dive isn't just about exploring anxieties. It's about empowering you, the listener.
Right. We want to give you the tools to think critically about these issues and to make informed decisions about your own future.
Exactly. So as we move towards the final part of our deep dive, I want to ask you, dear listener, a few questions. What resonated most strongly with you in this conversation? What are your own hopes and fears for the future? And most importantly, what role do you want to play in shaping that future?
These are the questions we should all be asking ourselves as we navigate this rapidly changing world.
The future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create together, and that I believe is a far more hopeful and empowering perspective than us succumbing to fear and paralysis.
I couldn't agree more. Now let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back for the final part of our deep dive. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. You know, as we've been going through all of this and kind of dissecting these anxieties about the future, one theme that keeps coming up for me is this idea of like a tug of war between centralization and decentralization.
Yeah, it's a battle that's playing out all across the digital landscape, from finance with cryptocurrency to the way information flows online. You know, the question of who controls what is more relevant now than ever.
And it's not just BlackRock and this potential sway they might have over cryptocurrency. Think about social media platforms or even the internet itself. Who's steering the ship there? And that seems to be at the heart of a lot of the fears that the author expresses.
Absolutely. The author is clearly concerned about the immense power wielded by big tech companies, the power to shape our perceptions, to filter the information we see, and even to influence our behavior. It's almost like a modern day version of They Live, where those subliminal messages are now delivered through algorithms and news feeds.
Right. It does make you wonder, are we trading our privacy and our autonomy for the convenience of these platforms? I mean, They know everything about us, what we like, what we fear, what makes us click. It's a bit unsettling when you really think about it.
That data is incredibly valuable, both for targeted advertising and potentially for influencing our decisions. And the question the author raises is who benefits from this data, and at what cost to individual freedom and autonomy.
So what can we do about it? Is it a losing battle, or are we just kind of stuck in this system?
Not necessarily. I think the first step, as with many things, is awareness. The more we understand how these platforms operate, the better equipped we are to make conscious choices about how we engage with them. We can also support initiatives that promote digital literacy and critical thinking, empowering people to navigate this information landscape effectively.
It's like we need a digital compass to help us chart this uncharted territory.
Exactly, and just as importantly, we need to advocate for regulations that protect our privacy and ensure that these powerful platforms are accountable to the public, not just to their shareholders.
It's like we need a digital bill of rights, something that guarantees our freedoms in this new digital world.
That's a powerful image. As our lives become increasingly entwined with technology, it's crucial that our fundamental rights are protected in the digital realm as well.
It's easy to get overwhelmed by all of this. It feels like every day there's a new technology or a new trend that's either going to save us or enslave us.
We're living in an era of unprecedented technological change, and it can feel both exhilarating and disorienting. But instead of succumbing to fear and paralysis, we should approach these challenges with a sense of curiosity and a determination to shape our own destiny.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the anxieties of the future, what's the most important message we want to leave our listeners with?
I think it's this: while these anxieties are real and deserve our attention, we are not powerless. We can choose to be informed, to be engaged, and to be active participants in shaping the future we want to see.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the anxieties surrounding cryptocurrency, AI, and the future. We encourage you, the listener, to keep exploring these topics, to ask questions, challenge assumptions, and share your own insights and perspectives. The future is not something that happens to us. It's something we create together. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay informed.